Hi guys, and welcome to Gardening Time. Today I'm going to show you what I've got growing in our home in our small little greenhouse. So what I've got here is a small, it used to have 4 shelves, but we adjusted it to where it just has two shelves, growing shelves on it, that can hold one of these, let me hold it up here, one of these long trays on each shelf. And we have the hanging lights, these hanging lights here on each shelf. There's a shelf up here as well. And these are 2-foot long lights. There's 4 tubes. We used to have fluorescent lights, but this year I went ahead and swapped out the fluorescents for LEDs to save a little bit on the cost of the electricity on running them. Even though it really hasn't been too bad in the past, I thought, you know what, let's just go ahead and make the switch. The other cool thing with the LEDs is that they're not supposed to burn out nearly as fast as the fluorescent lights, which last year we went through quite a few of the fluorescents, and those are a bit costly to have to keep replacing. So anyhow, so we went ahead and made the switch this year to the LEDs, and you could see that they are actually quite bright, and so far they're working out fantastic. So right now what I have growing here, and like I said, I'll take these plants out and I'll show you the individual plants and go through each one that I have growing. But I just wanted to say in terms of what I have growing right now, because we're in zone 5A, and so I haven't started growing really any of my vegetables for the vegetable garden yet. I started growing like a few. I've got some arugula, I've got some spinach, and some Swiss chard. But other than that, all the plants here are flowers, annuals, and perennial flowers that I started. And I did this last year because I have such limited indoor space. It makes it very challenging if I wanted to grow my flowers and perennials at the same time that I grow my vegetables. So what I did last year, and I'm doing it this year as well because it worked out pretty good, is I started most of my flowering annuals and perennials in January. I started as early as the first week in January, and then every week I would add a few more. I would plant a few more. So anyhow, so we'll go through all of those, but I just wanted to let you know, kind of give you an idea of our setup. I'm gonna back the camera up here so to give you guys a better view of what we have going on. Okay guys, this is as far back as I can really get in this room. It's not a very big room, but I just wanted to give you an idea of what our little greenhouse looks like. It's probably about 30 inches wide by probably 18 inches deep. And what we did, it used to have a plastic cover on it, and what we ended up doing, the plastic cover ended up getting mold inside, and it just was more of a pain than anything else. So we ended up taking the plastic cover off, and in order to make the most of the light, what we did was we surrounded the whole little greenhouse with cardboard, and then we glued aluminum foil to that cardboard in order to brighten up the space. So, but anyhow, so that's what we have right now. I'm hoping that my husband's going to see about building me a shelving unit in the closet that we have in this room, and you know, so and to basically make a space that's twice as big as what we currently have, that like what you currently see here. So anyhow, we're hoping that we can expand on it a little bit to give ourselves a little bit more growing room. But that's what we got going on right now. This is my little grow area. And now I'm going to take you and show you the individual plants that I've currently got growing. Okay guys, I have most of my seedlings here, but there are still a few others that are I have them placed in various windows in the house. But I have at least one of each plant that I have currently growing right now. And what I do, because I don't have a lot of space for growing a mass amount of flowers. So rather than grow like a whole flat of something, what I do is I will grow between 2 to 6, sometimes even up to 9 of each plant. But I more or less grow more of like between 2 to 6 of each plant. This way I get a large variety of flowers to put out into the garden space versus just 1 or 2 different types of flowers. So one of the plants I have growing is this German chamomile. I grew this last year, and I still have some of the dried flowers that we use in teas, and it is absolutely delicious. It you know, has that honey, it's got like a slight honey taste and a citrusy taste to it, and it just makes just a fantastic wonderful tea. And the plants are beautiful too. They get those tiny white little daisy-like flowers on them, and they're just very beautiful. And the cool thing with chamomile in the zone that we're in, you know, if you plant it somewhere out in the garden, it's going to come back year after year after year. You're going to find this plant for years to come popping up in different locations throughout your yard. So it's pretty prolific as well. Another plant that I have growing this year is a delphinium. I tried some of these last year from seed, and I wasn't successful in getting them to actually take. So I'm hoping this year they do a better job with getting established in the garden, because I really would love to grow some of these. They're beautiful flowers. Another plant that I started this one a couple of weeks ago, is arugula. This one is an edible, for, you know, the leaves and whatnot can be used in salads. So I have a couple of these growing right now. This is a cooler weather plant, so it likes the cooler weather. So I'm planning on hopefully putting this one out in about a month, getting it outside and established in the one of the garden beds. Sorry about that. This is a Swiss chard, and I've got 3 of these growing. I absolutely love Swiss chard. It's delicious eaten. The stems are like really, they have like a sweet, crunchy texture to them. They're delicious, and the leaves are wonderful. You know, stir fried or thrown into soups. It's just a really good overall plant. And again, this is another cool weather plant, so it likes the colder weather, and it can handle a little bit of a like the colder temperatures. These are seeds that I saved from, I had a pink columbine plant in my front garden bed, and I ended up saving the seeds off of it last year, and I planted some of the seeds this year, and all of them have come up, which I'm really happy about. But columbine is another perennial in our area, which means it'll come back year after year after year from its roots. So it's a great plant to have. It prefers partial shade, which is fine for us because we've got several places in our garden that it would do just fine in. And here is some yarrow. Now, I planted some yarrow this past year, and I'm hoping that it should come back. This is another one that is listed as a perennial, and it should be fine for our zone 5A. But I decided to go ahead and plant some extras of these because I'd really like to get a large patch of yarrow going. They're beautiful plants, and they also have medicinal uses as well. So anyhow, so I got some of these planted. I think I have 6 cells planted with yarrow, and all of them have come up. This is a black goji berry. Now I have the red goji berries. They're also known as wolfberries. I have the red goji berries. I've had those now for a couple of years, and they are perennial in our area. But they also make wonderful, like the red goji berries. I've had one growing in a pot, and I bring it in every winter and overwinter it inside as well. And they make great indoor plants as well. So you can also do it both ways. Have them growing in the ground outside and in containers. And I found, this is just a side note, but I found with the red goji berry that it actually fruits better when it is in a container, at least in this area where we're at. Or I should say, or for me, it actually fruits better, puts on more fruit sets in containers than it does in the ground. Now, we'll see this coming year how it does, if that trend continues. But as it stands right now, it like last year, I got a ton more fruits on the plant that I had in the container versus the ones that I had growing outdoors. This black goji berry, I had, last year was the first year that I actually grew this, and I grew it from seed. And so I had, I think, 2 little plants. They were only about probably like 7-8 inches tall by the time the end of the year came around. So they're very slow growing. I put them in the ground. I'm second guessing whether I should have done that or not. So we'll see whether or not those come back. But the one thing about the black goji berry is that it's a lot harder to start from seed than the red goji berry. The red goji berry is super easy to start from seed. This one, however, I started 2 cells. I put multiple seeds in each one of those cells, and out of those, only 1 goji plant came up this year, just 1. And they're very slow growing. Let me see if I could find it here to show you what it looks like. Where is my goji? I have to look for it because it's kind of hard. There's only 1 of them. Oh, there he is. He's in the back here. So I'm going to bring him in to the camera. Get behind here so I can see. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if you could, let's zoom in on him here. There's the little guy right there. And he's been growing now for probably about 4 weeks since he emerged from the soil, 4 weeks. And that's it. That's all I've got right now. I've got 2 leaves, 2 of the, you know, the first leaves they come out with. And there's a couple of tiny, I think they're called the true leaves. The second set of true, or the first set of true leaves are just barely coming in. So very slow growing and very hard to get going. But I've heard that once you get them going, that you can take cuttings from the plants and you can start them, you can reproduce them that way, and they're a lot easier. All right, another flower, this is an annual I have growing, are some pansies. I've got 6 of these growing, and my first round, I had to plant these twice. The first time I planted them, I think I got the soil too wet, and for whatever reason they didn't come up, so I had to second plant, and when I second planted, they ended up coming up. But these actually, these usually, I think they did this to me last year too. They take a little while to come up. They take a little longer than some other plants do to emerge from the soil. I think it says, I'm trying to see what it tells you for days to germinate. This says 3 to 9 days, but I don't know. Maybe it was more like on the 9 side, because it did seem like it took a while for these to come up. But these are the pelleted versions of the seeds as well, which is nice because these are teeny tiny little guys. So anyhow, we got some of those growing. I'm gonna put those, I'm gonna probably put those in pots and not so much plant them in the ground. This is some ornamental lemongrass. And let me show you this little guy that I've got growing. This guy started out in a cell, and I only really wanted one patch of this. This stuff gets quite large, and this is really good in like teas, and I think you can also eat it as well. So there's different uses for it, but it's got that beautiful lemon smell to the leaves. So anyhow, but that's what I've got right now for my lemongrass, my little patch. And this has been growing probably, I think this was one of the first ones I planted, so probably like 6 weeks now since I planted the little seeds. So it's moving along. I think once these guys actually go outside, and once things get warm, I think these are really gonna grow a lot faster. This is fenugreek. Let me get that right. I heard a lot of good things about this plant. This is not only a beautiful plant, the leaves are really pretty on it, but they're supposed to be really tasty too. So this is both an edible and an ornamental. And let me show you what they look like. So there they are. This is my fenugreek right now. And so yeah, so those are actually growing pretty good. We seem to be doing quite well with the current conditions that they're growing under. Right now I'm keeping these on a windowsill because I've run out of room in my little greenhouse. All right, and then we got some Walla Walla onions. Now, the interesting thing with onions, I stopped growing onions for the last couple of years because my history with onions has not been the greatest. So they would never get that big, and no matter what I tried, whatever amendments I've added to the soil, they just never did that well, and they're not expensive in the stores, and it just wasn't worth it to me to grow these anymore. But there's a couple of YouTubers out there that I follow, and they had said that they got the best success with growing big onions, you know, healthy onions, when they started their onions from seed. All right, so these are my Walla Walla onions that I started from seed, and they're doing really good. These were super easy to start from seed, and so I will and let you guys know how these do this year in terms of bulb size and growth rate and success in our area. So we'll see. Keep our fingers crossed. All right, so next one on our list is this one. This is a eucalyptus. It's called Baby Blue, and I just thought it would be really cool to grow a eucalyptus. I think they're beautiful plants. They smell wonderful. You can dry the leaves and use them in vases and you know, flower arrangements. And you could also make your own scented oils with them as well. And I've got 2 babies. I was trying to grow 3. Let me see if I can find them here. These are another extremely slow growing plant. Let me see if I can find him or them. There they are. All right, my 2 little babies. All right, let me see here. There they are, my 2 little baby eucalyptus plants. Very slow growing, but they've got their true leaves coming in. And these are an annual in our area, so we'll see how they do and how much I like them. If I like them enough to grow them every year, we'll see. I got some slow bolt cilantro. So my problem with cilantro every year is it's one of the first plants to bolt and go to seed that I grow, and we grow this every year because we do enjoy cilantro, especially in salsas and things like that. So I'm going to try this variety. This is from Baker's Creek, and we'll see how we go. Let me show you. I've got 2 of these growing. It's these 2 right here. But I have also got a couple of parsley plants too. But so far I've been pretty impressed with the vigor and growth rate in these plants. They seem to be doing really, really good. So fingers crossed. Then for the kitties, I have 1 catnip plant growing. I should have planted more of these really because our cats love catnip. They love it. Yeah. So anyhow, but this is for my kitties. Then we have some valerian. This is my first year growing valerian. This is a perennial. It gets beautiful. I think this gets beautiful tiny pink flowers on it. But the biggest reason I got this is it is used medicinally to help. You know, I think you can use the roots as like for pain relief and things like that. So it's got a medicinal purpose to it. Yeah, there's a lot of good things. Uses for this plant, so that's why I wanted to grow it. But it's also supposed to be very pretty too when it's flowering. I got some oregano growing. This one should be a perennial in our area, so when you plant it, it should be able to overwinter, which I'm hoping for. So I got a small little grouping of this. You can see that I've started from seed. Another very slow growing plant. This again is probably one of the first ones I've grown. So this has probably been since I planted the seeds. It's been probably about 6 weeks, and this is as much as it's grown. So you can't even see it over the thing. But anyhow, once it gets growing, it grows pretty good, especially in the summer. Calendula, I grew this last year, and I love this plant. This plant is very similar to the dandelions in that you can make salves from the flowers. The flowers are edible. There's a lot of multi-purpose uses for this plant, but above all, it's a beautiful plant. So a beautiful flower. And we got some White Stars Feverfew. This is another plant that it's got beautiful little daisy-like flowers on it, but I'm more growing it for its medicinal uses, which we can get more into in another time, or you can look that up yourself, do a search for that. But yeah, it's a great one to have in the garden. Ornamental bunny grass. I didn't bring my little. I think I have 2 growing here, but I've got 4 more of these. I think they're upstairs in a windowsill. So here's 2 little ones right here. I am very excited about this. I just love the name too, bunny tails. But this is an ornamental grass. It's a small grass. I don't think it gets that tall. Trying to see on the back here. Yeah, it doesn't say how tall it gets. But anyhow, yeah, I would say it's under 12 inches tall. And then it gets these adorable white little plumes that look like bunny tails on them. So I've got those growing. Those are annuals, unfortunately. So if that's a plant that I like and want to regrow I'll have to regrow it every year. All right, let's see. Showy milkweed. This is my first year with growing milkweed. I've been wanting to grow milkweed now for quite some time because of the monarch butterflies. It's the only plant that the monarch butterflies will lay their eggs on. So very important to our planet, especially if we want to keep the monarch butterflies alive. So the variety I got, believe it or not, there's multiple varieties of milkweed. I mean, there's not just like one. This one that I got, it's called showy milkweed. It's got beautiful lavender flower heads on it, and right now I got 4 growing. And this, if you let it go to seed, again, you'll have milkweed year after year. Even though it's an annual, it'll come back on its own through its seeds year after year after year. So I think a great plant to have in the garden as well. Okay, this is my first year growing this one. This is another annual. It's called Balsam Peppermint Stick. Look at those flowers. Aren't those gorgeous? This plant is multi-purpose in that you can eat the leaves, as well as it makes a beautiful flower head. It has beautiful flower heads on it as well. So I'm really excited about that. Let me show you. I've got 2 sitting here. I think I have a total of 6 of these growing right now. But that's what the plants look like right now. You can see the trunks of them are that pink color. This one's kind of leaning because it's been leaning in. I've had it sitting on my windowsill. But so far they're doing pretty good. I think I'm going to have to give them some fertilizer though. Their leaves are looking a little bit yellow. Here's another one that I'm trying this year for the first time. It's called Honeywort Kiwi Blue. This is a beautiful plant. I think it gets about 2 feet tall, and it's got beautiful silvery green color foliage, and then it gets these adorable, beautiful flower heads on it that are that attract both hummingbirds, bees, and butterflies. Very pretty plant. And I've got the blue balloon plant, which I don't know if you guys have ever seen this. It's a really cool. This is a perennial. It gets these flowers that before they open up, they swell. It's almost like there's air inside the center of the little flower that blows air, and they form like these tiny little balloons, and then they finally, I guess, get so swollen that they finally burst open. And when they burst open, they're these star-shaped blue flowers that are absolutely beautiful. This flower has been prolific in its germination. I've had fantastic germination success with this plant. It's a slow-growing plant, but it's very prolific. Let me see if I can. Here's a couple of my balloon flowers. They're right in there. Let's see. Zoom in. Yeah, you can see those are not that tall yet. Look at that. Little guys. But yeah, I mean, every single seed I planted just about came up, so I've had really good success rates with that. And the feverfew is another one that I had really good germination rates with. All right, we got the Madonna Shasta Daisy. This is a perennial. It's a short Shasta Daisy. I think I can't remember for sure, but I don't think it gets. Well, I know it doesn't get that tall, and it has these beautiful daisy flowers on it. So, would be wonderful for both cut flowers and just out in the landscape. And this is a perennial, which is, I am absolutely in love with perennial plants. Because in the hopes of one day having a garden that every year it comes back for the most part on its own, and you don't have to do anything other than weed and flower and occasionally, fertilize and watch out for bugs and things like that. It's still a lot of work. I know a lot of you are saying, well, that's a lot of work. It is a lot of work, but it's a lot more work when you have to replant everything year after year after year in your garden bed. And that's what I'm trying to get away from. Foxglove. I have yet to be successful with growing foxglove. This year I've got, I think, about 6 foxgloves. They like shade. I planted some last year on the corner of our house, and I think they got too much shade, and they never did anything. And and I know they take 2 years. Usually you don't get the bloom stalks until the second year on these, especially where we're at. So the first year you're just going to get the leaves that come out, and then it's the next year after that you're going to get the beautiful spikes. So I'm hoping that I can get these things to take. Blue columbine. I told you guys I had the pink variety. Well, this year I found the blue variety. And I love these plants. They are absolutely beautiful. The foliage is beautiful, and the flowers are stunning. And these are perennial. They come back year after year, and they self-seed themselves. So wonderful plants to have. So I think I've got 3 or 4 of these right now. Lupine, first year with growing lupine. This is a perennial. Look at those flower stalks. Aren't those gorgeous. I'm really looking forward to this. And my lupine is doing really good. I think I've got 6 of these growing total. And the reason I don't have all of them, as my little seedlings are growing and getting too big for the cells, I replant them in larger cell pods, and then that's when I put them like in the windowsill and stuff like that. But these are my little lupine. Aren't they cute? Look at those little leaves. They're so cute. My little lupine. Anyhow, excited about that plant. Nasturtiums, I've got a couple of these growing. I enjoy the eating the flowers on these. They have a very like horseradishy type taste to them. They're delicious and like salads. And they also just have they're just a beautiful plant. Pink Impatiens. I have some seeds that I saved from an impatient plant I grew 2 years ago. Yeah, I grew some of the seeds last year. They came up, and this year I planted these, and they have they're coming up again. So I like that when you can buy a plant like one time and then not have to rebuy it again for a while. All right, we've got stinging nettle. This plant is, again, it's being grown for a number of reasons. This one does not, if it does flower, it's not, I don't think it's anything spectacular. But the biggest reason I'm growing this plant is because I want to make my own natural organic fertilizer. And this is the plant to do that. You make your fertilizer by soaking the leaves and the stems in water and making the stinky like soup, but that it contains like all the vitamins and nutrients that plants crave. These plants are also fantastic for adding nitrogen into the soil. So there's a ton of benefits that you can get from stinging nettle. And you can, it's also edible, and there's tons of benefits for the humans as well. So it's a really great plant to have. This plant though, I've had the hardest time getting it to grow from seed. I have 6 cells, and I've planted those cells multiple times with seed because nothing has come up. And I finally, I think 4 days ago, I had 3 tiny little babies come up, and that's it. So I'm gonna get in really close so you can see my tiny little babies. There's 3 of them there. So yeah. So this is a hard one, at least for me. For whatever reason, it's a hard one to start. But hopefully those 3 will live and grow, and I can at least get it established in my garden this year. Coleus. Have this one growing. I've got 6 Coleus growing. Actually, I've got more than that. I've had really good germination rate with my Coleus this year. So these are just coming up now. They're about the same size as the stinging nettle I just showed you. So yeah. Violas. Oh my gosh. I'm really happy I found these this year. The last couple of years I've been wanting to get them, and they just weren't selling them locally. But I was able to grab a pack this year of violas, and I've got 6 cells growing right now of viola, and they've all 6 cells are germinating. So yeah, excited about that. Amaranth. This is Love Lies Bleeding, a beautiful plant. You can use this in cut flower arrangements. It's a beautiful plant just to grow and have in your garden. Very unique. Look at those rope-like I don't know if you call it, I guess they're flower heads. But they get these tiny seeds on them too. And I guess I think you can eat the seeds. I don't know, don't quote me on that. But anyhow, beautiful plant. And let's see, we're almost at the end here, guys. Penstemon, Rocky Mountain. Now, this is another plant, very much like the stinging nettle, that has been very, very challenging for me to get growing. I tried planting the seeds multiple times. I tried cold stratifying them in the refrigerator, and so far I've got one growing that's doing pretty good, and I've got in another container, which I left in the back bedroom there, I've got, I think, 2 or 3 more coming up. Let me show you my penstemon, my one so far that I have. Penstemon, I really want to get this growing because this is a perennial plant, so it'll come back on its own every year, and it gets these beautiful blue spikes that bees and hummingbirds go absolutely, or hummingbirds, bees and butterflies go absolutely nuts for. So there's my one little penstemon right now that I've got growing. But like I said, in another container, it looks like I've got, I think, 2 or 3 seedlings that look like they're gonna that they come out of their seed and they're starting to germinate. So fingers crossed I'll have more than one. Okay, I think that covers everything, guys. I should have probably done more. I should have probably split this into 2 or 3. But anyhow, I wanted to show you what I've got growing and right now. And yeah, and then once I get my vegetables growing for the garden, we'll go through that and I'll show you what I'll be growing this year in terms of vegetables. But for now, guys, thank you so much for joining our watching, and we will see you next time. All right, take care. Bye-bye.